When I was about 12 years old, somewhere between 9 and 12 years old, I went on a church outing to a beach to go boogie boarding. And all of the kids were wearing really bright, almost fluorescent colored orange shirts, t-shirts, so that you could see where they were while they're out playing. I am not very good at boogie boarding, not done that very many times. I was not tied to my board, and I was trying to catch a wave and was a little late in approaching it and got smacked on the head by the rip curl. Blacked out. Absolutely unconscious. What I do remember is from under the water, I was looking up and seeing, I think, the sun, and I'm seeing the waves make all kinds of sparkling where the sun is. And this is my only bearings of which way's up. I need to get to that. That is the surface. I gotta get to that to survive. And I didn't get there. I died. The light became really bright. It expanded until that's all that there was this bright, bright white. And then that faded as if your eyes were adjusting to this blinding walking outside, and then all of a sudden you can see. And I was given a tour of the world by God. I was shown things in response to unasked questions. Any thought that I had in my mind was answered conversationally by reshaping the structure of reality in front of me and putting me in different places to witness different things. And always the answer to my thought ended up being how my heart felt by what I was seeing. Usually horrible things that I was seeing, and it was a lesson in sin. How much God is hurt by our sin. And then I was in a place that seemed like there was a spotlight aimed down on me. And I was on a white floor with absolutely nothing else existing at all. It's like where this light was, there was existence just on this little platform and a spotlight on me. And just outside that spotlight, it was as if there was nothing in existence at all there. This light that was aimed down on me felt conscious. If you've ever had somebody stare at the back of your head and you get creeped out and turn and you look and you know not only that somebody's staring at you, but you intuitively know what direction it's coming from. And you turn and you make eye contact and now you know, yeah, somebody's staring at me. Well, that's how this light felt, aimed down on me, like a spotlight from above. It was a conscious attention aimed down on me, and it warmed my whole being. I had a body that looks like my body, but it was transparent and glowing and sparkling with light. And it was the same light. That light that was beaming down on me was what I'm made of, and was what the ground was made of. And everything that seemed to exist within this light was made of this light, and it was love. It felt like love, and it felt warm, and it glowed. And then I saw something that looked like a huge television screen. No frame around it. It's not like the technical box that we're looking at, but for lack of a better way to describe it, it was a rectangle with a picture of my life story as seen through my eyes. Fast forward, fast forward. It was going so fast I couldn't even discern between one scene and another, except in two places where it slowed down. And I relived those two experiences as if I was there. The first of which was when I was a child, my dad had built a swing set in the backyard. And as he laid the concrete foundation, my younger sisters and I put our handprint in the concrete. And then my dad wrote our names under the handprints. And I remember first how weird it felt putting my hand in wet concrete. It was very strange texture. But when I removed my hand, I looked, and there's my handprint and my two sisters. And I realized long after I'm dead and buried, that's still going to be there. And it's never going to get bigger, but I'm going to get bigger. This is a stamp in time of leaving my mark on this world. And then fast forwarding, and then it paused at another scene where I'm in the back seat and my parents weren't divorced yet. So my dad's driving a car, my mom's in the passenger seat, us three kids are in the back, and the youngest sister is still in a child seat. That's how young we were. And the middle-aged sister is sitting in the middle. So we're literally in age, in order, in the back seat. And my sister's poking me in the ribs. Poke. And she's kind of giggling to herself. Over and over. For like 15 minutes straight, just antagonizing me, taunting me. And finally I turn around and slap the hand. Knock it off already. And my mom turns around and yells at me, "How dare you hit your sister? What the hell's the matter with you?" And I paused and thought, wait, what's the lesson of this story? Should I just put up with the taunting? Is the lesson something about when I do right, I'm punished for doing right? It should be my mom's job to scold her for the taunting. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm not the parent. So this is what I was shown. And I don't really know what to make of that. I've been trying to figure it out for a long time. And then this screen that I was looking at of my life story backed off a little bit, and I saw that there are hundreds, thousands of these screens that appeared to be connected to each other in a big ball. So there's this sphere and all of these little screens all around this sphere, and I know this one's my life story, so I'm assuming that these others must be other people's life stories, and they were all connected by lines. And it occurred to me, these are places where my life intersects somebody else's life, and we shared an experience that's common to us both. At this couple of frames in my movie, it involves a couple of frames of their movie as well. And this is what was being replayed, is the movie of my entire life story, up till that point, at least. I think I was shown some future things, but I wasn't allowed to retain that knowledge when I returned. But I saw my life story on a screen, and then it backed off, and I saw that all of the life stories are on screens, and they're connected by lines where an event was in common. And so I was curious about this, and I looked into this ball and saw that my lines reach out to a couple of people, a dozen, maybe a few dozen. But I noticed there were a few people there that reached almost everyone. And I'm not sure what to make of that either. And then this ball backs off, and I'm looking at the Earth. I'm looking at the Earth as a North American continent with clouds swirling over it. And I recognize this is the globe, this is the Earth. I'm looking at North America. And then flames. Fire. The whole world went up in fire. And shock and awe hit my soul like nothing ever could. It reminds me of, there's a scene in one of the Star Wars movies where I think it was Yoda. Some planet had been blown up, and all of a sudden he's in shock for a moment, and Luke Skywalker asks him, "What's wrong?" And he said, "It's as if a million voices screamed out and then suddenly went silent." This is what I was feeling when I watched the world burn. And I pleaded to God, please, please send me back. Please let me warn them. Please let me do something. And then my boogie board hit me on the sole of my foot as the water was pulling like this, as the wave was coming back from the sand towards the ocean with a really strong current pull. And I did a push-up out of the water and vomited salt water and sand out of my stomach and blew my sinuses and blew sand out of my sinus. Oh, that's a horrible sensation. Yeah, I can't even begin to describe what it's like blowing sand out of your sinuses and throwing it up out of your stomach. But apparently, the epiglottis in my throat had covered my windpipe so that I didn't drown. I did a push-up and I crawled back onto the sand and sat there, folded my legs and watched the waves breaking and wondered how long was I out. I know I got hit on the head by the wave, and that's the last thing that I remembered before the afterlife, and now I'm back. How long was I out? So I watched where the waves were breaking, and I watched them travel towards me, and I started counting 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, and I got to 6 minutes between where the wave breaks and where it got to me. And then I started wondering, well, where is everybody? I'm here with a bunch of kids that are wearing bright orange t-shirts. I don't see any of these bright orange t-shirts. Where is it? So I start doing this Where's Waldo thing across the beach full of incredible numbers of people. Where are the bright orange shirts? And finally I see them. I was in a cove that's kind of crescent moon shaped. And they're way down here and I'm way up here. Oh my God. So I pick up my boogie board and I start jogging across the sand. Ooh, ow, ooh, ow. It was like 110 degrees, this sand, and it's all full of glass and beer bottle caps and cigarette butts and just all kinds of debris. And I'm running, and ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh with my bare feet. And about a half hour later, I get to the rest of the group just as they're getting on a bus and doing a head count. And I got in line, and they counted me, and I sat down, and everybody's accounted for, and they drove off, and no one even knew. No one even noticed. I had died for more than a half hour, probably about 45 minutes at least, and no one even noticed that I was gone. I'm looking here at Ezekiel chapter 33, Ezekiel's appointment as a watchman. And came the word of the Lord, saying, Son of man, speak to the sons of your people, and say to them, If I bring a sword upon the land, and the people of the land take one man from among them, and make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming upon the land, and blows on the trumpet, and warns the people, then he who hears the sound of the trumpet, and does not take warning, and a sword comes and takes him away, his blood will be on his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take warning. His blood will be on himself. But had he taken warning, he would have delivered his life. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and a sword comes and takes a person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood I will require from the watchman's hand. Now as for you, son of man, I have appointed you a watchman over the house of Israel. So you will hear a message from my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require from your hand. But if you, on your part, warn a wicked man to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he will die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your life. Now as for you, son of man, say to the house of Israel, Thus you have spoken, saying, Surely our transgressions and our sins are upon us, and we are rotting away in them. How can we survive? Say to them, As I live, declares the Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn back from your evil ways. Why then will you die, O house of Israel? And you, son of man, say to your fellow citizens, The righteousness of a righteous man will not deliver him in the day of his transgression. And as for the wickedness of the wicked, he will not stumble because of it in the day that he turns from his wickedness. Whereas a righteous man will not be able to live by his righteousness on the day when he commits sin. Then I say to the righteous, he will surely live. And he so trusts in his righteousness that he commits iniquity, none of his righteous deeds will be remembered. But in the same iniquity which he has committed, he will die. But when I say to the wicked, you will surely die, and he turns from his sin and practices justice and righteousness, if a wicked man restores a pledge, pays back what he has taken by robbery, walks in the statutes which ensure life without committing iniquity, then he will surely live. He shall not die. None of his sins that he has committed will be remembered against him. He has practiced justice and righteousness. He will surely live. Yet your fellow citizens say the way of the Lord is not right, when it is their way that is not right. When the righteousness turns from his righteousness and commits iniquity, then he shall die in it. But when the wicked turns from his wickedness and practices justice and righteousness, he shall live by them. Yet you say the way of the Lord is not right, O house of Israel. I will judge each of you according to his ways.